Hey guys, it's Bobi, aka Paginator, and it's a new year, we have a new channel name, and we're going to talk about some books today. In this video, we're going to look at my reading bullet journal, specifically the end of the year data, my top reads of 2023, as well as my new reading journal for 2024, the setup, and I'm going to be asking for your help a little bit. So yes, I do have a new channel name. I changed it from simply Paginator to Paginator Reads and Journals. My channel has evolved. Originally it was strictly bookish content, and now it's a lot more journaling as well, whether it be junk journaling, bullet journaling, etc. So I wanted to add the reads and journals just to more accurately reflect the dual nature of this channel with the bookish stuff and the journaling stuff. All right, we're going to be opening up this journal. This is an Archer and Olive journal that I have been using from August through the end of the year. I usually use up 2 journals during a calendar year, and we're going to turn to some very simple spreads near the end. So we're going to start with some Compile data. Compile is a book rating system created by G over at Book Roast, and I use her stuff every year. She kindly sets up spreadsheets for us to use, and the spreadsheets generate these beautiful charts and things. So I've simply printed these out and glued them into my bullet journal as a way to reflect on some of the data generated from the Compile system. I'm not going to read everything here to you. I'm just going to share some of the interesting things. So as far as number of books read per month, my top 3 books read are July, November, and December this year. But then if we look at number of pages per month, it's June, July, and December. So in June, I must have read some chunky books. That was when school first let out, so I was probably really in the mood to go for the chunky books. This one is about book length. Most of my books are in the 300 to 350 page range, so that seems about right for middle grade YA. Oh, sorry, I'm waving my hand and my camera's going in and out. Sorry, I don't mean to mess you up there. Most of my reads were young adult, 47%, 29% were middle grade, 16.8% were adult, and 5% were new adult. I think that pretty accurately reflects what I prefer to read. This one you can see here with the tons of colors are different authors, and it looks like, according to just the authors that are popping up on the most populated sections here, Dominique Valente was my most read from author. That's probably because I read all of the Willow Moss books this year, and so I don't think that means she's my favorite, because I wouldn't say that. But according to these statistics, she was the one I read the most from during this year. Most of my authors read from were American. I would like to expand that a little bit more, but sometimes it's hard being only able to read fluently in English, so I can find some translated books, I guess. I'll get back into Christelle Dabo's books because she's French and her books are translated, I guess. In terms of POC authors that I read from, the top categories in terms of representation were Black, Asian, Middle Eastern, Latinx, and Native American. In terms of representation in characters, LGBTQ plus rep, 35% of the books I read had LGBTQ plus rep. I think that's pretty good. And then disability rep, we're looking more at 20%. It could be too that I'm just like kind of forgetting, like maybe there was a side character that had a disability and I forgot to log it, or that kind of thing too. I could also do a better job of actively seeking out books with disability rep. Let's see, what else do we want to look at? Most of my books were fairly new, published in either 2023, 2022, or 2021, but I do have some older books in there, some classics and stuff that I've read, so I feel like it's a good mix. I try to stay on top of new books just mostly because of my job as a teacher. I want to keep on top of new books for kids and stuff. This one is about genre. My top category is fantasy. It usually always is. And then my second highest category is contemporary. And then there was a tie for third place with historical fiction and romance, which surprised me because I feel like I don't read that much historical fiction. But apparently I did. This brings us to some information that comes from Goodreads. They will do this thing that they'll calculate for you called my year in books. And so all the books that you logged, they will tabulate the data. So I have 213 books read. My goal in Goodreads was 175. It's going to be the same for this year because I do have times when I'm slumping or crafting takes over and I don't read as much, that kind of stuff. So it'll stay at 175 for next year. In terms of pages read, I read 64,948. My average rating was a 3.9. I don't know if that means I'm being too generous or not generous enough. I don't know. My average book length was 304. So similar in the compile data. They matched up nicely there. The shortest book I read last year was Books for Benjamin, which is a picture book that I reviewed. I was sent a review copy. The longest book I read was Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty, which was 766 pages. The rest of what I got from Goodreads is they pile all the covers of books you've read together. And when I was printing these, I didn't keep them in order and when I was cutting them out and gluing them in and stuff. So you're just going to see some book covers here. I'll point out a few. The bigger ones, they tend to put your higher rated books in, make them bigger when they do this. So Cruel Illusions, Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, best nonfiction book I've probably ever read in my whole life. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, Omen of Ice, World Made of Glass. Sorry, the large one over here was Cupcake. That was the first book I read in 2023 last year. Let's see, Mexi Kid, Stolen Heir. I'm not sure if that one should be big, though. I kind of feel like there are other books that I liked way more than that. But I did give it a 5-star rating, I guess, so. Here is Journey of the Pale Bear, which I absolutely loved. Lore Olympus, Volume 5, I think it was. Ballad of Never After in Greenwild. Vestergrim, Dust, House of Roots and Ruin, Chomp, and Wretched Water Park. This book was phenomenal, by the way. I still get creepy vibes just thinking about it. Kingdom of Copper, These Twisted Bonds, These Hollow Vows. This one's number 1 in the series. This one's number 2. Divine Rivals, The Labors of Hercules, Beale, and Bring Me Your Midnight. I think that these 3 large ones here are my top 3 that I read this year, but I'm still not 100% sure. I'm having a very difficult time narrowing that down to rank them. So now we get to my top reads. Now this is a document that I prepared for some of my coworkers. I do a book training with them every year, and I make them a list of my top middle grade and top high school books that I enjoyed reading during the year. And since I made this list, none of the books that I read between then, which was December 12th, and now have changed. It's January 1st as I'm filming this, so I can say with full confidence these are the top books that I have read during this year. I do not have them ranked in terms of this is my top number 10, 9, etc. What I have is alphabetical by author. We're going to start with the ones that are middle grade or middle grade / high school, meaning they could go for both age groups because this is a document I prepared for teachers. And because there's so many of them and we don't want this video to last a year, we're going to just do a quick little synopsis of what each one is. So Otter by Catherine Applegate is a story of a cute little otter who is injured by a shark and taken into a rescue facility. The Brothers Hawthorne is the 4th book in the Inheritance Games series, and you need to read those in order. So start with the Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The Swallowtail Legacy by Michael D. Beale is the first in the middle grade series of mystery set on an island. The Marrow Thieves by Sherry D. Moline is the first in a duology, I believe. It is dystopian with Native American characters. The Ballad of Never After is a continuation of the spin-off series from Caraval. So she did Caraval by Stephanie Garber as author, and then she took the character of Jax and created a spin-off series, and this is the second one in that one, I believe. Up next is The Amelia 6 by Kristen L. Gray. This is a middle grade that involves Amelia Earhart and a mystery of Amelia's lost goggles in a home where a bunch of young girls are invited to stay. It it's like an Amelia Earhart museum, and these goggles go missing during the night, and they've got to figure out who stole them. Once again, I'm apologizing for the shadow up here. My cameras just don't like me, I guess. Next, we have Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. This is a middle grade about a young deaf girl who creates a song using sound waves and the vibrations, etc., hertz levels for a whale who is a hybrid whale and seems to be one of a kind, so she doesn't want him to feel alone. Thieves' Gambit by Kavion Lewis is a phenomenal book that is about teenage thieves who are competing to win this competition called the Thieves' Gambit, and the winner gets a massive prize, and our main character desperately needs to win because her mom has been taken captive and held hostage. The Unteachables by Gordon Corman. Gordon Corman writes phenomenal books, especially for middle school. Very readable for both boys and girls. This one I feel like he wrote in honor of teachers. It is about a teacher who is completely burned out and just wants to get through his last school year before retirement, and they put him in this class called the Unteachables with kids who just struggle to learn. And it's how this teacher and these students come together and do something pretty amazing. Up next is Hummingbird by Natalie Lloyd. This is a middle grade about a young girl who is wheelchair bound. She has brittle bone disease. I forget the actual name for the disease. But anyway, her parents let her go to public school for the first time, and she also hears about a magical hummingbird that lives in the woods nearby that could possibly grant a wish. Mexikid is a graphic novel memoir about a young man who has lots of siblings, and they all load up into the family Winnebago and drive to Mexico to bring their abuelo back to live with them in America. Firefly Summer by Morgan Matson is a darling middle grade about a young girl who's never known her mom or her mom's side of the family because her mom had passed away, and so her mom's side invites her to their summer camp that they own for the summer, and while she's there meeting new cousins, etc., there is a mystery to be solved. A First Time for Everything by Dan Santat is the National Book Award winner, and rightfully so. It is a graphic novel memoir about the young man who goes on an international school trip. Experience a lot of firsts in life. First girlfriend, first time having Fanta soda, like all kinds of firsts. And it's really well done. The Labors of Hercules Beale. This is probably in my top 3 books of the year. This is a middle grade by Gary D. Schmidt, who is phenomenal at writing emotional reads. If you're looking for a book to make you cry, look up his book Orbiting Jupiter. It made me bawl. It made like my big football player guys cry when they read it too. Yeah. He's got the emotional thing figured out. In this one, we have Hercules, who has been, it lives in our modern day, but has been challenged to recreate, in some sense, the labors of Hercules from classical mythology. And this just might help him start to heal from the loss of his parents who died in an accident. Mascot is by Charles Waters and Tracy Sorrell. It is a verse novel about a Washington, D.C. school who has the mascot of the Braves, and they're dealing with the issue of, is it ethical to have a person as a mascot? FYI, it's not. I don't think it is. I mean, I never thought that it was okay, but this book really helped me understand, wow, I didn't think about it from the Native American point of view before either, because not being Native American, I can't imagine that. So I just had this very whitewashed view, and I feel like a little bit of like, oh, well, that's just wrong because it is wrong. But it helped me understand more of what it felt like to be a Native person and see the mascot of your school be someone who looks like you. Does that make sense? Skandar and the Phantom Rider by A.F. Stedman is number 2 in the Skandar and the Unicorn Thief series. It is a fantasy adventure with lots of plot twists and fun fighting sky battles on unicorns action. And Festagrim by Thomas Taylor is the number 4 in the Eerie on Sea series, starting with Malamander. It is a phenomenal, very spooky vibes, but cozy mystery kind of series with middle grade kids solving mysteries around their seaside town. That brings us to the second list. This is high school reads. So these are books that I would pick just for high schoolers. Omen of Ice. My cover you saw on the Goodreads spread looked different than this. It was a Alcrate or Fairy Loot, I can't remember which, but this is a fantasy with a bit of romance in it, and it's very cold, as you might guess from the ice. House of Roots and Ruin is a sequel to House of Salt and Sorrow, or continuation. It doesn't follow the same main character as the first one, but rather her sister, and it was so atmospheric and vibey. I loved it. Cruel Illusions. All of these books on this first page here are very, very atmospheric, okay? Cruel Illusions is another one that was quite dark, fantasy. You can see all the flowers growing and stuff. And in the illusion part, like, we bring in magic and, you know, I don't want to spoil things, so I'm trying not to say too much. Foxglove, another super vibey one. The third book in this series is not going to come out till August. But Adeline Grace is the author. The first book is Belladonna, and then we have Foxglove. And then the third one I think is going to be called Wisteria. But it's kind of like if the Secret Garden was filled with poison and poisonous plants. And so you have that dark element of like danger and that kind of stuff and super evil people, but also a secret garden. Bring Me Your Midnight is another one that I think might be this I actually think might be my number one read. It is by Rachel Griffin. I absolutely love Rachel Griffin's writing. It's amazing. This one follows a young girl who is on an island where witches live, and witches are known. Tourists come there, buy potions and different things. And she is supposed to marry a regular person. I guess in Harry Potter they'd call him a muggle, his non-magical person, who's like the son of the mayor or the lord or something, and on the mainland, so that they can join the two worlds. And she ends up meeting someone else, and things happen. Lots of really cool magic stuff, and I cannot say enough good things about this book. If you like witchy fiction, go look up Rachel Griffin. Again, everything I've read from her has been wonderful. Speaking of Rachel Griffin, we have Wild as the Witch. This is another witchy one. This young girl has to track down an animal that has flown away from its safety, and she needs to bring it back. It's an owl. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. This is just fluff. It's a high school romance. Like, these two get thrown together in like a wilderness survival leadership kind of thing, and they form a really cute relationship. Howl is a high school monster mystery thriller thingy by Sean David Hutchinson. Sorry, I forgot to say the author on this one was Talia Hibbert. Sean David Hutchinson wrote Howl, and I loved it a lot. A couple of these I actually ended up donating to my local high school because I thought, you know what, I have a whole bunch of kids that would really love to read these, and Howl is definitely one of them. When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord is a romance that was, I thought, just really well done. The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin, another dark atmosphere, vibey fantasy, paranormal kind of thing. Thin Air by Kelly M. Parker is if the Hunger Games took place on an airplane, like, but way more slasher movie-ish. Like, the tagline says something like 8 hours, 12 contestants, 1 person left, only one will survive, something like that. And we have these kids that are all flying to Paris, and they're going to compete for a scholarship, but what it turns into is like a slasher movie, and they're people that die with blood, and like, trigger warning for very bloody scenes and suicide, and talk about abortion. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. Teach the Torches to Burn by Caleb Roerig is an LGBT Romeo and Juliet retelling. We see you can have 2 young men here instead of a boy and a girl. Divine Rivals is another one of my top 3, I think, by Rebecca Ross. I just picked up the sequel, and it's staring at me from my table over there, and I really just want to go read it right now. This is about 2 people who are rivals at work. They're reporters for the war, but what they don't know is that they're secretly communicating through these magical typewriters they have. And it's almost like a You Got Mail and war reporters combined. I don't know. It was very, very beautifully written. Rebecca Ross is a good writer. These Hollow Vows, Lexi Ryan. Now, I'm going to be fully transparent with you right here. I remember that it was fantasy. I remember that we have this triangle of people here. And I remember that I absolutely loved it so much that I ran to buy the sequel. And now I don't remember what it was about. I'm so sorry, but I remember that I absolutely loved it, so I'm sure that other people would too. And the last one is an LGBT romance, Right Where I Left You by Julian Winters. This is a great author if you're looking for LGBTQ love stories. Something else I read from him, and I'm blocking out the name of the title right now, but anyway, these two boys really help each other discover their best selves in the process of falling for each other as well. So it was a great read. All right, so you've seen my end of year data and my top reads. I would like to show you my 2024 reading journal. This is a 8x8 square journal from Archer and Olive. It has a stack of books on the cover, and we just have the name there. And we're going to try a couple new things this year, and then some things are going to stay the same. This page is a daily reading challenge, so I haven't set up the colors yet, but these represent how much you read during the day. So since today's January 1st, I would start with this box here, and however much I read today, I'm going to color that in with that color. This is a compile reference page, just so that I can remind myself what everything means and how it works. This is monthly review, so every month I put the name of my favorite book from that month and how many books I read. This is a book bracket. Book brackets are a little bit skewed in the way that they work, so I wouldn't look at it and say, oh, the one that ends up in the middle is absolutely 100% for sure my favorite read of the year, but it's usually pretty close to. This is a tracker for book of the month, and then I have one for Owl Crate and Fairy Loot. I like to just write down what books come in those boxes. This is social media tracker. I'm going to write down subscribers, etc. Goodreads goal, you can see 175 books. All these books are, each one represents one book to read. So I don't want you to look at this and go, oh my gosh, she's reading 175. I have to read a lot too. No, you don't. Everybody reads different amounts. I happen to read a lot. Maybe you read a little. Maybe you read more than me. I don't know. Just read what you want to read, because otherwise there's no joy in it. This is a series of pages with some Dutch doors, so that's kind of fun. Sorry, that made the zoom go in and out funky. But I used to be subscribed to the TBR recommendation service, and I have made a tracker of all the books they've recommended me. And each one that I read, I will write down my compile rating for what I scored. And then at the end, I'm going to decide, once all these are complete, do I want to go back to that service or not? This is a bingo board for TBR veterans. So I went into my office and looked at books that have been there for a while and wrote down titles. I know myself, I'm going to feel pressure to try to complete some of these. So my goal that I'm telling myself is to get one bingo on the board, not to go for a blackout. Now here's where I need you guys' help. This is my 12-12-24 spread, and no, it doesn't mean 12 plus 12 is 24, although that mathematically is true. What this stands for is 12 books recommended by 12 people that I read in 2024. So, you guys are my bookish people. Help me, please. Be kind, though. Try to take into consideration what you've seen me talk about and and read and stuff. And if you have a book that you would like to recommend for me, please write a comment in the space below. I will add the ones here till I get 12, and I will do my best to read all 12 of them this year. This is a spread that's for my school reading. The reading teacher and myself, because I teach language arts, she teaches reading, we work together to require kids to do 8 book projects in the spring semester, and then they have an opportunity to do 5 bonus ones to earn a baker's dozen reward, because 8 plus 5 is 13, and 13 is baker's dozen. So if they do all of those things, they get to come make Oreo truffles with me in the school kitchen during one of the last days of school. And it's just kind of fun. So I'm going to, of course, make a tracker for my own work on that. This page is saved for G's Aurelium stuff. So I've just left myself a little note and stuck it on there with washi tape, and I'll come back and work on that later. This year I'm going to try something I haven't done before in my reading journal. I've got some trackers by genre, age, length, and whether I would recommend it for my students at school. So I've got different keys and stuff, and again, I need to establish colors just like the first page we saw in this one, but I'm going to give them a try. I might hate them, I might love them, we'll see. And here's where my January pages start. When my monthly pages begin, I always have a quote and a calendar. So my quote here is, he had only heard of dragons, and although he had never seen one, he was sure they existed. And that is from the book Sons of Avalon, Merlin's Prophecy by D. Marie. We do have a cute little dragon down in this corner here. And we've got some fairies and a cool tree and a castle. So this is very fairy tale-ish. Here is my monthly TBR. You saw that video, or most of you saw that. There's a place that I can write down any books that I purchase, my haul page. This is, at the end of the month, I come back and I write down all the books that I have read, all the names of the books that I've read in the month. And then over here I put the number of books and the number of pages. And then this is a spread I will do for my favorite January read. I will print out a picture of the cover, and then I will write down some thoughts about that book. And I believe that's it. Did I set up one more page? Nope, that's it. So here's where my January chapter trackers will take over, and we'll go from there. So once again, if you have a book to recommend me for this page, please hit me up in the comments below. And if not, no pressure. Just if you've got one, I would appreciate the help. And that's going to be it for this video. So welcome to 2024. Welcome to my new channel name. And I hope you had a great 2023 reading year. Let me know how much you read. Did you achieve your goal, etc. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, magical, and bookish day. Happy reading, journaling, or crafting. Adios.